Hey everybody, welcome back to Movies Net. I'm your host Cody, and today we're going to continue on with my review series of Taking Shape 2, the book about the Lost Halloween sequels, right here. Dustin McNeil and Travis Mullins. So we're continuing on with today's episode being on the Halloween 5 sequel that we never got. So the first one we did, Halloween 4, there were three scripts that we never got to see with that one. So this is going to be Halloween 5, and it's actually, this script was actually written by the same writer that wrote one of the Halloween 4 scripts, Shem Bitterman. So this one's a pretty interesting script here. So I'm going to read a little bit of it as we go through this, but really how it takes place is it's a direct continuation of the same night that Halloween 4 was. So it's not a year later. Jamie's not a mute. She's not in the clinic. Myers doesn't get saved by that hermit, or there's no Dr. Death. Nothing like that. So this is a continuation of Halloween night in 1988. And it goes through that whole night here. So we keep Rachel, we keep Jamie, of course. We get introduced to some new characters, like this guy named Tom. We even see more of Lindsay Wallace in this, which is kind of different, but it's a little goofy. It's a little goofy script. So let's go. I'm actually just going to bring it up here and read a little through this. So the story starts out here by going, in quotation marks, I'm reading directly from it, is Halloween night, the sidewalks are wet with blood, sirens pierce the silence, and we rejoin young Jamie Lloyd after she just stabbed her foster mother. So it still starts out, or not, I don't want to say still starts out, but there's no retcon. It picks up directly after Jamie stabs her foster mother. But doesn't kill her. That's still the same. So Mrs. Crothers doesn't die, but Mr. Crothers is going ballistic once Jamie killed, right? Once her killed. But Rachel actually believes that it wasn't her, because Jamie's is basically saying, it wasn't her. Meeker wants to protect her somewhat, but Loomis now sees Jamie as evil. Okay, so that's really where it's going to go to. So Meeker was actually just getting ready to take her into custody, but she escapes. So she escapes. Rachel is upstairs with Lindsay, because I guess Lindsay came over for, I don't know how she heard about it, but she came over, was helping clean up, and was cleaning the blood out of the tub, Mrs. Crothers' blood, after Jamie stabbed her. But anyways, Jamie escapes. She runs and finds an old church or whatever, and that's where she's hanging out. So, it says here, running off into the night, Jamie finds refuge within an old church, several streets over. Inside, she encounters an evil version of herself, who attempts to give her back the bloody scissors. So in this script, the whole idea is her hallucinating doppelgangers of herself, and that actually leads into doppelgangers of Myers. They do have some sort of a psychic connection here. That's kind of where we get that from Halloween 5. And by the way, the tagline for this, it wasn't The Revenge of Michael Myers. It was Halloween 5, The Killer Inside Me. So killer inside Jamie, killer inside Michael, they're both interconnected, things like that. So that's really where we get to throughout this movie. But I'm just going to put this down for a second here. So what ended up happening, so after that she starts seeing these doppelgangers of herself, and they're the evil her, and she's desperately trying to fight them. So she's truly not, I guess, evil herself. It's the killer inside her, that is, or the killers, because there's a bunch of them around. So anyways, Meeker's trying to look for them. Loomis is out trying to get her. Rachel believes that Jamie, she didn't consciously stab her foster mother. She isn't, an evil person. So she wants to prove that she isn't by going to prove Myers is still alive. So what does she do? She goes back to the mine shaft. Mine shaft is supposed to be guarded by some cops. Well, those cops are dead. She ends up going into the mine shaft herself. And whenever she looks up, there's Myers. He has like this giant rock and he throws it down at her. She misses it. She escapes it. So now Myers is back set loose. Rachel knows that. Rachel is, runs frantically away from the mine shaft and she ends up stumbling upon the Tower Farm Party. The Tower Farm Party still exists in this script, and that's where we get it in the final one. But this one, the party's already going. It's been going on throughout the night. She runs up to this guy named Tom who's there, and asks him for help in a ride back into town. Which he's nice. He gives her that. She kind of fills him in on everything that's going on. But then this is where things start getting a little weird. So let me bring this back up here. Look. So Jamie actually ends up running back to her house, to the Carruthers house. Lindsay's still in there cleaning up and being a good friend and whatnot. But she senses Michael is still alive and that he's coming back, which she's right. So she tells Lindsay that he's coming. Moments later, Myers comes back in the house, kills Lindsay, and takes Jamie. Rachel and Tom show up just in time to see her being taken by Myers. So they end up going back to the Myers house. That's where Myers takes Jamie. That's where they come in. So once they get there, or once Rachel and Tom get there, they immediately start going after Myers. Loomis also shows up, and now keep in mind, he's been trying to find her as well, along with Meeker, because Meeker wants to arrest her. Loomis wants to kill her. Loomis is the first one to find her, so this is where crazy Loomis comes in, because he was nuts in the fifth one that we got. He did not like Jamie too much. So once he gets to the Myers house and Myers isn't there, but once he gets there, he goes to Jamie. This is what he says. He asks her, he said, "What's the matter? I'm a doctor. These are my instruments. You don't even hear me, do you? You were once a little girl playing in the sunshine out in the front yard of her house, but you're not that little girl anymore, are you? No, apparently not." So, he's basically just, telling her that she's evil now, right? And that he saw this with Michael when he was young, and he let Michael live, and everything from that decision is what we have gotten in the present day, which is Myers killing people and doing what he does. So he doesn't want that to happen with Jamie, so he wants to kill her. So he has a cyanide-filled needle, and he's ready to kill Jamie with that. Jamie ends up getting those doppelgangers again, right? And let's go. Yeah. So windows explode, furniture levitates, and the room catches fire. Unbeknownst to Loomis, he's now surrounded by multiple versions of an evil Jamie. So the evil Jamies try to kill Loomis, but Jamie herself tells her doppelgangers to leave him alone, whatnot. So Loomis realizes that, like, oh wow, there really is a psychic connection here. He abandons his plan to kill her. He then tries to get Meeker, because Meeker arrives as well. And he tries to get Meeker to let her go, let me take care of her. Meeker doesn't want to, because she stabbed somebody, right? She tried to kill somebody. So he actually arrests Jamie and takes her to a small highway substation. Now, Rachel and Tom and Loomis, after they fought Myers at the Myers house, Myers vanished, disappeared, whatever. But of course, he ends up showing up at the highway substation, kills the officers there, um, and then Rachel, Jamie, and Tom escape the highway substation again, so they, elude um, Myers, and they go back to the Tower Farm party. There's still party goers there, and Loomis and Meeker go back to the substation, see that it's been completely devastated by Myers, and then they go ahead and go to the Tower Farm party as well. I guess it was nearby. They had a hunch that that's where they were going to go to. Um, so Jamie, though, during this time fears that she's going to get Rachel and Tom killed, so she runs away, goes into the cornfield. Rachel comes, goes after her, but then she keeps hallucinating these doppelgangers. These doppelgangers are taunting her, saying that um, you're too weak to kill. Now you have to die. She runs into Loomis again, who Loomis is like, listen, you got to face down your demons in order to beat them. And that's what she does. Jamie confronts her doppelgangers. They disappear. And, Loomis is thankful that that happened. Um, so, anyways, Loomis and Jamie, they end up going back to the Tower Farm party, but they see Rachel and Tom are fighting Myers, so there's a battle going on there. Um, and some crazy stuff happens here. Like they're fighting Myers. I guess Myers almost kills Tom, almost kills Rachel, but doesn't kill neither of them. They end up running over Myers in a combine. Um, yeah, they run over Myers in a combine. You think that would chop him up, but I guess it didn't, because Myers just comes out from underneath it and throws Tom to the ground, rips him out of it, and attacks Rachel again. And then it's pretty much just Myers and Jamie at this point, and Jamie decides to use her psychic powers that she has now with these doppelgangers, and you know psychically projects knives coming out of Myers and like kills him that way. Um, yeah, but before this too, I'm sorry, let me back up, because before all this, because Loomis was in the mix as well. Um, but Loomis or Myers was able to project doppelgangers around Loomis, right? So there's all these like fake Myers, and Loomis is like trying to stand down and use that same explanation that he told Jamie, like stand down your doppelgangers and you can beat them. So that's what he's trying to do to Myers, and he's taking off each and every one of his masks, saying, "I know you're fake. I know we're gonna find the real one." He takes off the mask finally for the real Myers, and Myers grabs and snaps his neck. Snaps his neck. He's done for. So Loomis dies at the end of this Halloween 5. Um, so anyways, after that, that's where we get to Jamie going after now Myers with the knives coming, exploding out of him. And Myers collapses, and I guess he dies. Jamie goes to unmask him, and it's a face of a young boy. Um, and yeah, it's kind of like in the end of one of the Halloween 4 scripts where it was just a dream. And this one, that's still innocent face of a young boy, is in here. I don't know why he was so adamant on that, but it carried over into this script. So yeah, the first responders, everybody comes, and Michael falls back into the coma that he was in at the end of Halloween 2. And that's what happens. The story ends with Tom driving Jamie away, I guess, to the hospital. And then the car stops. Jamie gets out. Tom's dead. He got a screwdriver stuck in his temple. And it ends with that. So Jamie's still evil in this one at the end. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. There is a second version of this, and it's really just, a lot of it's the same, but it's really just how, let me go a little further here. It's really just how the beginning and the end were. Because I guess the beginning, he was more, Myers was revived by like lightning, so kind of like a Jason Lives resurrection for him. And that just didn't work. And that was actually one of the things that Dominique Athenning Gerard, the director of Halloween 5, didn't like. He didn't like either script of Bitterman's, but he definitely didn't like the rewrite, specifically because of how it starts off being like a Frankenstein, Jason Lives type start to it, with how we get Myers alive. Now that does correct from the original draft of we don't know how Myers got resurrected. He just got blown up, or not blown up, but blown full of holes, bullet holes by the police and Loomis. At the end of Halloween 4, he goes into the bottom of a mine shaft, and yet he crawls back out of it, kills cops that are still there, and goes on and does his thing throughout the night. So at least that gives you an explanation of how he comes back alive, and at least in the second draft. But again, they're a little too goofy, and also just like what happened in Jason Lives, he gets resurrected by lightning. So Dominique didn't want to do that, so they didn't do that. And there's one other thing I had in here. Oh, yeah, the end. I'm sorry, the end, because those are really the two biggest changes, the beginning and the end. So the end was instead of Jamie killing Tom at the end, second draft closes with Rachel holding Jamie in the back of an ambulance as it drives away. Jamie smiles and we crossfade to the Shape sitting unmasked in a jail cell. So kind of like the end of Halloween 5, except not really, because the Shape Myers was still masked in the jail cell, which is so goofy anyways. But yeah. So there's no like at the end killing or anything like that. There's no breakout version either, like the Man in Black showing up. So none of that happened until the rewrites, anyways. But at the end of the day, I mean, Dominic Athenant Gerard, he used some things from the Bitterman scripts, specifically like the Tower Farm parties, Loomis being pretty crazy, right? Going after Jamie a lot. But he changes it, obviously, to a year later. So both of these scripts, both of these drafts, should I say, happened on the same night as Halloween 4. But yeah, I mean, I think it could have been a little bit better. I mean, you could have had the same spirit as the actual Halloween 4. If you want to do it the night before, I thought that would have been a great idea to do. But unfortunately, they decided to do things like doppelgangers and multiple versions of Jamie, multiple versions of Myers. I don't mind really Loomis dying in this one because, at the end of the actual Halloween 5, we kind of get a hint that he died, but just for him to come back in Halloween 6. But you get a definitive scene of him dying in this one. He gets his neck snapped, or he gets his neck snapped. So, yeah, wasn't a fan of the script. Glad it wasn't made just because of the doppelgangers. I think that would have just been, especially with the 80s, I don't think that would have really aged too well, especially like with knives protruding from bodies. Those kind of 80s CGI. That definitely wouldn't have aged really good. It would have been nice to see how this version of Jamie would have went on screen. And I feel like you still could have done it like this, just not with the doppelgangers. Keep her having that kind of psychic connection with Myers like we get in the actual Halloween 5. But, don't make her mute or anything like that. But, you could have done something there. So, yeah, not really a fan of this script. Glad it wasn't made. And that's all I got here. So if you like what you heard here today, please subscribe for more. I'm going to do the next episode on Halloween 6. I think there's 2 or 3 scripts for that, so it'll be a longer video there. So I hope you all enjoyed it. If so, like the video, and we'll talk soon.